And welcome back to another episode of PWT Talks NXT here on the PWTorch Daily Cast or on YouTube if you're watching us live here on YouTube. Kelly is not with me tonight. Kelly is out being a good parent watching his child perform at a choir recital. So with me to talk all about this wacky, waving, inflatable, arm-flailing tube man of an episode of NXT, I don't know why that was my descriptor, is Jobin. Jobin, thank you for joining me tonight, man.
Anytime. I mean, I'm here watching anyway, so it's always a good night to talk about wrestling.
Oh yeah, when isn't it a good night to talk about wrestling?
I don't have a snappy answer for you on that one.
Exactly. We'll say hey to CJ. Hi, CJ.
Hey, CJ.
And as Ryan said in the chat earlier, before we went live, that was a shocking ending. And I have to agree with Steve Repsher coming in and saying that the two title changes tonight detracted from the number one news item. Dante Chen appeared here on NXT. There is so much to talk about tonight. My God. So let's oh, and CJ of course saying he loved the wacky and waving inflatable arm filling tube man reference. So there we go. Bailey buddies.
There we go.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about this main event because I'm still Pikachu face right now. I don't even know what to say right now. Our main event tonight saw Stephanie McCurr, NXT Women's Champion, take on Jacy Jayne, defending her title against Jacy Jayne. This match came about after Battleground. There was some back and forth backstage between Fatal Influence. I always do that. Fatal Influence and Stephanie McCurr, leading into Jacy Jayne challenging for the title and it being made official by Ava. It looked like Fallon Henley and Jacy Jayne were not on the same page. Jasmine Nix has not been around the last few weeks. I don't know why. We've wondered ourselves if it was an injury or whatever, but she's been kept off TV. They haven't really explained why she was off TV. They just explained that she was back here tonight. So here she was. She did not seem to have any beef with anybody, with either Jacy Jayne or Fallon Henley. She was just kind of standing in the background and letting them have their bit of an argument in a backstage segment as they were getting interviewed about the main event tonight. Jacy Jayne even told Fallon Henley, like, I don't need you. It's your choice to come out to the ring with me. And I kind of expected Jacy Jayne to come out either by herself or just with Jasmine Nix. When the match actually took place, she was accompanied to the ring by both of her Fatal Influence sisters. And they helped her win the title. It turned out that the dissension in the ranks was just a ruse, and they used that to kind of fool everybody until they could distract the ref. They had Jasmine Nix distract the ref, and then Fallon Henley attacked Stephanie McCurr as she was performing her armbar over the top rope, a la Tajiri and his tarantula. If you guys remember Tajiri and his tarantula, kind of similar move where she uses the rope for leverage, and Fallon Henley attacked her and then allowed Jacy Jayne to quickly get the pin and become our new NXT Women's Champion, which I never thought I would say. Jacy Jayne as our NXT Women's Champion. I was going
to say, Ryan, I don't know if I can't do the thing with the comments, but Ryan made a comment about Mike Rome's face after the main event.
Ryan says, I have the Mike Rome face after the main event. Mike Rome looked shocked as well.
Yeah, truly shocked. I don't know if something unexpected happened. It didn't seem like it. I guess he just is a great actor, because damn.
A lot of times the ring announcer doesn't know the finish to the main event.
That's right. So yeah, he probably was legitimately surprised then.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but I feel like he didn't tonight. Either that or he's a damn good actor, like you said.
And the opening match of the night, which we'll get to eventually, like where he just kind of rolled with it on the side of the, outside of the ring. He just kind of like, it's a very Mike Rome heavy episode tonight.
Yes. And as CJ says, Mike Rome is a great ring announcer, and I agree.
He truly is. I really enjoy Mike Rome.
Whoops, I didn't mean to click that, but isn't it crazy? Booker T got Stephanie Vicker more over. Yeah, I mean, he did. He does. All right. So yeah, I'm shocked. I'm still shocked, and I don't even really know how to. I don't want to say I don't know how to process this because it sounds like something bad, but it's just not something I expected JC Jane to lose this match, and I think that's obviously why they did it. NXT's been throwing out a whole bunch of swerves and things like that recently. Somebody even said it in the chat earlier. Harmon Smith, before we went live, I like how NXT is running with these shock twists, kind of makes it unpredictable, like actual sporting events. And that's very true. Like, I did not expect this to actually happen tonight. JC Jane has this actually reminds me a lot of Jinder Mahal winning the WWE Championship back in, what was it, 2016, I think it was. Going from lower mid card to champion like right away. A little bit different, but obviously kind of that same vibe and same feeling here. JC has been, she was never the leader of Toxic Attraction. She was never the leader of Fatal Influence. She's always kind of been in somebody's shadow. And now all of a sudden, boom, here she is, and she's the champion. It's also kind of like when Indy Hartwell won the title. That was more of a feel-good moment because she's obviously a face. But when Indy Hartwell won the title for a couple months until she had to relinquish it due to injury, that was a shock. This is a shock in a much different way. Than Indy Hartwell, I mean. Obviously, heel, and I think it was meant to invoke a lot of the emotions that I think we're experiencing right now, or at least I am. I just don't know where this is going to lead. Is this getting the title off of Stephanie to bring her up to the main roster with Julia? Is this something to just get the title off of Stephanie so she's now chasing it because maybe they feel like she's chasing the title?
Or are they going to do something with her in AAA, since that's the more luchador focused brand? Maybe they're going to put a title on her over there.
I don't
know. It's all new. Like, I mean, they own AAA. It's not like a partnership like we have with TNA. So it's very likely they could just shuffle a bunch of people around.
That's true. Yeah. Or even interchange the roster, and we just start seeing AAA talent kind of interchangeably come in, almost like we're seeing with TNA and AAA right now, which is crazy. I was thinking about this when the Laredo Kid made his debut tonight. We had like 3 different companies on the same show. Obviously, like you said, AAA is now under the TKO brand, but it's still like just it still blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. The other thing, Goodfella just said this in the chat, that this was an interesting choice tonight, especially when you had Jordan fight this weekend for the title. You didn't put the title on Jordan, which I mean, I didn't think Jordan Grace was going to win the title this weekend anyway, because it didn't feel like it was Stephanie's time to give it up. But I just feel like Jordan Grace is a much better choice. I'm like,
I would agree.
I'm happy.
Like you said, they obviously have a plan for this. They wouldn't just put it on JC Jane, because.
Yeah.
Not that she isn't great in her own way, but she's certainly not, as highly liked as a lot of other people.
Right. Yeah, and obviously, she is in that tag match at Worlds Collide against Daliz and Chica Tormenta. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing them right because I'm not a huge. I don't watch AAA, so I've just been introduced to them myself. But
that's pretty close.
But I don't know. She didn't need to lose the title for that match. I like it because it's unpredictable, and that's when wrestling is best, is when it's unpredictable. And now you're like, what's going to happen? So you come back next week. but wow, this was very unpredictable. Let me throw it to you. I mean, anything we haven't mentioned or anything you want to bring up?
No, not especially. I mean, like this was so surprising to me. I had actually looked away. Like I was, my TV's up over here on the wall, so I was watching, I was doing something on my computer at the same time, and I had looked away because I was so sure that Stephanie was going to win. I heard a bell. I looked back up, and it was JC Jane. So,
Yeah,
I mean, but nothing really more on the match. The match, I think itself, was fine to comment on. The actual content of the wrestling.
yeah,
Nothing. Stephanie got her usual moves off. And
yeah. It was a good
I think it was.
match.
I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, it was solid. Like everybody hit all the moves that they needed to hit. It wasn't a super short match. So yeah, I think it's solid, and I guess we'll have to wait and see what the plan is with the JC.
Yeah, no, and so Goodfella coming into the chat. I think JC's captured the audience a few times. Her feud with Gigi was good, but the wrestling was always meh for me, and it's where she sort of lost me. And that's kind of how I feel about her. She's gotten the audience behind her, whether it be as a face or heel, a few times, definitely, but never main event level. She never got the crowd behind her to get her to the main event, other than the times when she was with Toxic Attraction. And the reason she was in the main event was really more Mandy Rose than either she or Gigi Dolan. I think there were a couple times maybe that they did it, but I'd have to go back and look. But still, Mandy Rose is the focus of that group. I just kind of feel like she's a decent wrestler and things like that, but it was always, I don't know, everything about her and Gigi, like, we're always kind of meh. Like they were on the show, but they weren't like my people, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is interesting, very interesting. I am looking forward to seeing where this goes, and I'm very happy for JC Jane, the performer. I don't know her real name off the top of my head. Obviously, she's cashing in a dream here tonight. Realizing a dream here tonight, and that's wonderful for her. And I'm glad she's doing that. I don't want to sound like we're putting her down.
Grotto.
Sure, I'll go with that.
Yeah, Taylor Grotto probably.
And so happy to see her win the belt like that. But at the same time, and where Kelly's not here, I did the report for him tonight. What I wrote in there is oh wow, what did I write? Now I'm forgetting what I wrote. I don't feel like it's best for business. That's what I wrote. It feels like, why did put the belt on Jordan or something like that? Just the other day they could have done that. I don't know. Looking forward to it, but I guess cautiously optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic right now.
And for anybody that's listening to the podcast non-live version of this later, go back and count how many times we just said "I don't know" and then send it to Nate or something. I don't know.
Please do. Yes.
I'm sure it's a very large number.
Yes, I know. All right, let's move on. Because I don't know where else to go with this right now. And there's another one for anybody keeping track. Okay, let's go to the other title change here tonight, which was our opening match. That saw Ricky Saints defend his North American Championship against Ethan Page. This, again, like I said, second time, this is the first title change of the night. Ethan Page wins in 12 minutes, 54 seconds. I forgot to hit my stopwatch for the main event, so I don't know what the time was for that. But 12 minutes and 54 seconds in our opening match. This match was weird for a few different reasons. So before the match happened, before the bell rang, and before the two made their way out to the ring, they showed a bunch of security kind of standing up against the barricades and surrounding the ring, saying that the violence, I don't know exactly how they put it, so I'm kind of paraphrasing, but the violence between Ricky Saints and Ethan Page was so much that, and they were so unpredictable that they needed these security guards there to keep the peace, which is something that they've never done before.
No,
Even
not
with,
even when Goldberg came out with police officers, they didn't do that.
right? Like, and he didn't even come out with them. He just had them backstage, and then he
Right.
came out by himself. Yeah, I was even going to say, like, just kind of keeping with NXT, like Gargano and Ciampa, they had this like blood feud, but did they circle the ring with security guards? No.
No,
So
I guess it was also a callback to that backstage segment, little video package they did with the mediation.
yeah,
It turned into like kind of a contract signing where they had all the security around.
yeah, maybe. Ryan coming in saying one of the security guards looked like a skinny, long-haired Triple
He
H, and
totally did.
he totally did.
Did.
Because I had that exact same thought.
Yeah.
Same thought. Ryan also saying that I like the two title changes bookended the show, which so do I. I think that was the way to do it. And Steve coming in with all that security, who's watching the parking lot? And you know what? That is exactly why the NXT parking lot is the most dangerous place in Florida, and that's saying a lot because it's Florida.
And for any, I assume you must have at least a handful of non-Americans. Yeah, Florida is a scary place.
Yes. But anyway, so I don't know why they had these security guards there in the first place. It's kind of an unprecedented thing. Sure, they're trying to sell how crazy these two are, and how unpredictable these two are, but there have been crazier and more unpredictable feuds in the past, and they've never done this. When as Jobin alluded to during ring introductions, they and Ethan Page wound up attacking Ricky Saints, and then this, rather than like they did in the main event when Stephanie just attacked JC Jane and let the match start, they had the security guards pull the two men apart, and then the referee says to Mike Rome, "Okay, continue the ring introductions." And he was like, "And this match starts now." I forget exactly what he said, but it was something that he wouldn't normally say.
Yeah, this is a title match for the NXT North American title, and it's going to begin right now. And like, he kept it short and sweet and just got it started. But did they maybe just really, really want to let them fight Chance? Or
I don't know. It just seemed weird. It just really seemed strange. That Mike Rome would make that call where it's something he'd never say. Usually they would just let the match start, but whatever. So that was a little weird. And then the security guards kept getting involved throughout the course of the match. You'd have the match bleed out into the outside. They started fighting on and around the announce table, and then the security guards like pull them apart. Ava comes out and says, "We must have a winner," but then doesn't make it a no DQ match, which that's usually what the GM does when they come out and say, "We must have a winner." Instead, they say that the referee must use his discretion, which meant we didn't get any countouts when anybody get outside the ring. So they just let everybody, or they let Page and Saints fight outside the ring without counting. Saints ended up getting hit. I forget what move it was off the top of my head that Page did to him, but basically sent Saints' throat right into the leg of a chair ringside, which hurt his vocal cords and neck and throat area. Obviously a kayfabe, of course, which I want to point out, not an actual injury, I don't believe. And they kind of sold this out the course of the match. That wasn't necessarily weird. I like that. But yeah, the security guards and Ava coming out, and that was all. I feel like that was just Gaga for Gaga's sake. I don't think they needed that. I really don't. I think they could have just had the two have a bloodthirsty, energetic match without all of this weird stuff that doesn't make any sense. Ryan in the chat coming in saying, "My guess security guards is they didn't want a DQ," which makes sense. They didn't want a DQ, and that goes along with what Ava says. We need a winner, but why not make it a no DQ match? Why put these security guards out there to then hinder the two competitors from fighting? I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me. Maybe other people liked it. Jobin, did you like it?
I did not like it. I didn't like it. It was like you said, it was kind of weird. like for most of the match, even if they just posted them up around the ring so nobody could like interfere with the match or whatever, that would have been fine. But the pulling them apart doesn't like make any sense in the context of a wrestling match.
No, it doesn't.
The point is for them to be beating each other up. Why are you pulling them apart from beating each other up?
Yeah. Yeah. And I get that they were trying to sell the intensity of this and all of that, but it was the way they went about it was just weird. Just really weird.
I mean, the wrestling parts of the wrestling match were good. It was just all the weird extra stuff. Like you said, Ava coming in, security guards, all of that was just very strange. And then it wasn't an ODQ match, but he still hit him with, or I guess hit the chair with Ricky Saints technically. But
yeah.
A foreign object was involved. And yeah, I don't know. Surprised that they necessarily wanted to take the title off of Ricky Saints. Not like he could have held it for a while longer, but like I guess now it gives him something to get into another storyline with.
Yeah, and that's kind of like I wrote in the recap tonight. I don't think this feud is over quite yet. I think they did this so Ethan Page can now claim that he's a two-time North American champion, he's an NXT champion, kind of build his resume up a little bit. And then I think Ricky Saints is probably going to wind up either winning the title back. I don't think the feud's over yet. Especially with the way that this match went down. I don't see this match being over just yet. I think we're going to wind up, this feud being over just yet. Obviously, later on in the night, we saw Ethan Page come out celebrating, and Javon Evans comes out and says that he's next in line for a shot at the North American title. So at Worlds Collide, he'll be facing Ethan Page for the title, but it's not going to be only him. And that's when the Laredo Kid came out, introduced himself as a member of AAA, and said that he's going to be in the match. But he's not the only one. And then Ray Phoenix comes out and says he's going to also be in the match. So stacking the card big time with some talent here. The Laredo Kid, I'm familiar with, never actually seen his body of work. But I am familiar with him, in AAA. I don't even know if I've seen like clips on YouTube or Reddit or anything like that. So very much looking forward to that. This is going to be one hell of a fatal four-way. You've got Ethan Page is a fantastic worker in and of himself, but now he's surrounded by a bunch of luchadors, and I'm including Javon Evans in that just because of Javon Evans' style.
I would say he's close enough to luchador in style to that's probably a safe way to put it.
Yeah, he's not a luchador, but like his style is close enough where I'm lumping him in there.
When 80% of your moveset is Hurricane Ranas, you're probably a luchador.
Yes.
I mean, when you're that exaggerating, but Javon loves and is very good at Hurricane Ranas. So
yes,
I'm here.
Absolutely. No, so I'm definitely here for it. I think that's going to be fantastic, and I think it'll be a nice deviation from this feud with Ricky Saints. I still think leading up to Worlds Collide, if Ricky Saints is on TV, they might keep him off TV selling the throat, and then have him come back after Worlds Collide. But if they don't, and they have him still on TV and present, I think they're going to try and keep that feud going, and then we're going to. Whether Ethan Page retains the title or not at Worlds Collide, I still think he's going to come back to Ricky Saints, and finish that feud out that way. So, anything else on our opener tonight?
No, I don't think so. Just excited for Worlds Collide. Not that I wasn't before, but I'm getting increasingly more excited for Worlds Collide.
No, I'm pumped. I'm pumped for it. Want to throw this out there. CJ saying that PWTorch chat's the best. He called in last night and a troll started making fun of him, but everybody in the chat had his back, and then Wade blocked him. And you know what? There's no room for that crap here in the chat
No,
and stuff. Like,
no.
so
Enough of the internet wrestling community. We all know can kind of be
yeah,
at each other's throats. Let's let this be a happy, fun place where people get along.
exactly. So I'm very happy to hear that. When I'm not moderating the chat, the chat's still being taken care of. Now, granted, I've only ever had to block one person in the chat, so there's that, and that actually happened last week. So there's that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
didn't it?
but
Oh, that's
but that was spam and not a troll. So let's let's keep that vibe, guys. Let's keep that vibe. All right, let's go to Mike Santana versus Tavion Heights. Mike Santana, obviously TNA wrestler, won in 10 minutes and 12 seconds. This came about at Battleground. Mike Santana was being interviewed backstage. I think it was Sarah Schreiber that was interviewing. Don't remember, that happened a few days ago,
believe so.
but it was being interviewed backstage, kind of introducing himself and saying he was going to try and make a splash in NXT. No Quarter Catch Crew comes over. Little bit of back and forth between them. Tavion Heights winds up challenging him to a match, which wound up being made official and put on the card here tonight. So this was pretty good. I mean, I've seen Mike Santana wrestle before. Been a while, and I couldn't tell you what match it was in, but I know I've seen him wrestle before. I think this match was really good. I think they had some great chemistry together. There was one, I don't even want to call it a botch, but where Mike Santana was out on the apron and tried to do like a roll over Tavion Heights, who was inside the ring, and he kind of missed and didn't quite stick the landing. I'm kind of chalking that up to WWE using ropes as opposed to TNA using cables, and maybe he didn't quite because I know that the bounce of those are and springiness are very different. RVD, AJ Styles, to name a few, they've talked quite a bit about it. But as Goodfella just said in the chat, he recovered really quick, which he did. I think that
It's a live
was
event. Accidents happen.
yeah,
It is what it is.
exactly. Like I think he recovered really quick, and I think that they had a great match. Tavion Heights, he's somebody I sleep on and I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Every time he gets in the ring, he really does. He impresses me. I thought this was interesting too. Miles Bourne not showing, or Miles Bourne accompanied them to the ring, kind of gave Tavion a bit of a fist bump and then left, showing a bit more dissension in the ranks and kind of with No Quarter Catch Crew. Miles Bourne wants to be done with that. There's actually a match between Miles Bourne and Charlie Dempsey next week, and if Miles Bourne wins, he's no longer part of the No Quarter Catch Crew. He's free.
He's
You know
out.
what?
I think
If
is the
somebody
way
doesn't
he
want
put
to
it.
be part of my group, I just don't be part of my group. Don't make him be part of the group. That doesn't make sense.
But it's wrestling, Nate.
I know, but man,
Once you're in the group, you're always in the group, and then if you don't want to be in the group anymore, you got to have a fight about it.
But no, yeah, I like this, and obviously Mike Santana with the win, which makes sense. He's the one being introduced here, so and nothing against Tavion Heights. I think he still looked great in his defeat here. And then Mike Santana obviously coming out a little bit later in the night to challenge Trick Williams for the TNA title, basically standing up for TNA and representing TNA. So yeah, on both the match and lump in the TNA or sorry, the Trick Williams stuff if you feel like it.
Yeah, like you said, I mean the match was really solid. I was not familiar with Santana up to this point, but I think this is a great introduction. I've liked Tavion Heights for quite a while now. I mean, I was following even what he was doing. I think he was doing it was a tournament in Japan. I'm blanking on the name of right now, but while he was over there doing that,
Yeah,
I was keeping an eye on what he was doing there, and I like a big fan over here. I think it would be nice to see him get a little more TV time. So yeah, but anyway, Santana. Yeah, I think that was
it was Bloodsport. Bloodsport.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Santana. I think good introduction. The match with him and Trick, not terribly surprising. He was like the one TNA guy to show up tonight right after Trick Williams won the TNA title. So kind of figured that was likely to happen.
Yes.
And I believe that match is on NXT, which is going to be interesting.
All right, so let's go back here in the chat because we've got a lot of things going on in the chat. Harmon Smith coming in saying, in terms of Forbidden Door, what company do you feel has presented it more creatively, WWE or AEW? So it's kind of tough. I don't have enough time to actually follow TNA right now in my life, so I can't kind of keep up with AEW sorta. So I can't. It's tough for me to say, but I know that there have been some dream matches between AEW and New Japan and things like that, which are fantastic. And again, it's tough for me to make the comparison, but I really, really, really like what WWE and TNA are doing here. This is like unprecedented. I mean, under Vince McMahon, we didn't see any of this stuff. It was very, very, very rare for a WWE wrestler to wrestle on another show or to have somebody come in from another promotion. It did happen. I mean, it started to happen under his watch when we had Jordan Grace come in the Rumble. I think that was still under Vince McMahon's watch. But Mickey James the year before that, so that was definitely under his watch.
Mm-hmm.
But now under Triple H, it's the sky is the limit. We now have Trick Williams as TNA champion, which is still blows my mind that's a thing. That a WWE contracted wrestler is the champion of another promotion. Period. I'd have to go back and look, but I think the last time that happened was when Taz was a WWE wrestler and won the ECW title. Obviously ECW was going under and they were kind of under sort of WWE at that point, kind of, sort of.
I think the negotiations were ongoing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it seemed pretty likely by that point. So they just kind of rolled with it.
Pretty much, yeah, kind of, sort of. But yeah, it was crazy, absolutely crazy. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to say with that, the Forbidden Door. I can't really say much about AEW, but I love what they're doing right now with TNA and AAA for that matter. AAA is, I mean, it's still, I still think of it as another entity, another company, even though it's under the WWE banner now or TKO banner or whatever. But this is, again, worlds collide. We'll see what happens. CJ coming in with a general wrestling question tonight. Has WWE gone back to using snaps on all their championship belts versus Velcro? I hated when WWE used Velcro in the championships. And you know what? As a belt guy, so do I. They're still using Velcro. They're definitely still using Velcro. They haven't gone back to snaps. If they are using snaps, it's not the title that they use for TV. There's different versions of the title. There's a title that they use on TV. Yeah, there's like a version they use on TV. There's a version they use in photo shoots, and there's another version I think they use for live events that they don't use on TV.
I think that one might also be the one that the wrestler carries with them.
Yeah,
like
I think that
like to airports and all that stuff.
I don't know if all of them have Velcro, but I know that the one that they use for TV does. Reason being is it's easier to take the belt on and off when you've got Velcro than snaps. I have the WWE Crumb Rind version of Big Gold hanging right here, and try to put that on with snaps. And not that I really put it on much because I feel like kind of a tool wearing it, but if you're gonna buy a belt, you got to put it on at one point, and it's really hard to put on. I wouldn't want to try and put that on with snaps on live TV. So Velcro makes sense, even though as a purist, I hate it. Let's see. How long do we expect Jordan Grace to be in NXT? Not long. No. I don't think.
No, I think it was purely to get her in there, learn some NXT or some WWE specific stuff, production side of things, and then immediately move her up.
Yeah, I mean, she's already been introduced to the main roster in the Royal Rumble now twice. So I think it's really just a matter of time. Obviously, we say this all the time, don't move them up just to move them up. We want to make sure that there's something for her to do once she does get to the main roster. But I she's ready. She was ready before she got to NXT to go up to
Oh
the
yeah.
main
Oh,
roster.
easily.
Yeah, yeah. So I think what good fella in the chat to it says, yeah, I think WWE might want her help and headline NXT for a bit, but I'd be happy if she was at this year's SummerSlam. So
Sure.
makes 6 cents to me there.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
a couple months.
cool. So that's the chat for now. So let's and you can also send us an email, pwtorchnxt@gmail.com. Which I've got up on the screen if you see it. We'll get to our mailbag shortly. But if you don't want to be part of the chat, or if you're listening to this on a delay, you can you listen to the audio version of this tomorrow. Feel free to send us an email, and we'll hit it next week.
And regular listeners know for sure that there's going to be at least one email in there.
Yes. He already told me he's going to send one. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah,
Yep.
because I know you had reached out to him earlier about potentially being on
tonight.
Because,
and actually, you know what? I'm curious. I got to look this up. Kevin Catania and I, we are almost at a 1,000 day snap streak on Snapchat. I don't know if I'm proud of that or not. I think I'm proud of that. I am. I'm proud of that. Yeah.
Consistency.
But anyway, so let's go. Let's move on to our next match. Tatum Paxley versus Jada Parker. This was a quick one, 3 minutes and 49 seconds. I really like what they're doing with the Tatum Paxley character right now. I mean, Jobin, you've known me long enough where I kind of always I gravitate to the dark and kind of brooding characters a little bit, maybe just stuff like that.
Me too.
Yeah, I think we both do. I really like what they're doing this, and there's some nuances with Tatum Pax's character that I think a lot of people might just kind of look over. But like the fact that she's using these dolls as representation of her friends that she's lost. They can't really say Gigi Dolan and Shotzi on TV because they're no longer part of the company. I mean, I guess they could. They own the names to them, but why talk about them when they're not there?
Gigi Dolan's on the indies as Priscilla Kelly, I think.
Priscilla Kelly, yeah.
So
she was on the indies as Priscilla Kelly before that too.
Right.
But yeah, so I like that, but you kind of think about that a little bit more, and kind of getting into like the psychology of somebody kind of snapping and then using an inanimate object in place of people that you've lost. And if people who've been listening to the show long enough, I had a side project, I guess we kind of haven't really been updating it much, but where we look at gaming and therapy. So it's kind of something that I like and enjoy, psychology aspect of things. So I really like that they're bringing that in, kind of these notes, these tones into that character. And then Jada Parker, I mean, God, she's so good. She's somebody that could go up to the main roster right now if we want to talk about call ups and things. Made for she knows her character so well. She's made for main roster right now.
I was actually having a discussion with my supervisor at work yesterday about this. He had seen a post on social media somewhere that was like 2 men, 2 women right now ready to move up. Like who's your top 2 in each category? And like, that was
Jada,
something that Jada was one of the people that we both had in our women's slots. The second one's a little harder because the NXT women's roster is just incredible. But Jada absolutely, I think, is ready anytime.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, I like this. Jada Parker obviously got the win here, which I expected. Tatum, she doesn't need to win. She is character. Her whole thing is, her whole appeal right now is the character, not necessarily what happens between the ropes. Thea Hale coming in, kind of making the save for her friend, kinda. But more so trying to get revenge after Jada Parker attacked her last week while she was trying to talk with Tatum Paxley. I think that's going to be a great match. Thea Hale, I feel like, is vastly underrated. She's not underrated on this show, but I feel like she's underrated in the eyes of a lot of people. and I'm really looking forward to seeing what she's going to do as a singles competitor without the guise of Chase University behind her. She's obviously always going to be a Chase U alumni. She could align herself with Chase U if she needs some backup or support. But right now, she's doing something on her own. And God, I
She's a
hope,
grown ass woman.
because she's a grown ass woman. That's what her music says.
God, Deaf Rebel.
Yeah, that's another story for another day, though.
Mhm.
So, okay, coming in, CJ, Coach Jonathan Coachman says Bailey has zero value and WWE should fire her. I would assume you would call Coach a clown for his take on Bailey. You know, I would.
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause
Jonathan
even if
Coach.
she's always going to be, in the back helping people, teaching, coaching, putting people over. Like that has immense value.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, I think she definitely has value. I mean, yes, there are the women's roster is so vast and expansive right now that if Bailey was not on the roster, I don't want to say they wouldn't miss her, because they would. In terms of character, I don't think should be missed by some. But I think, obviously the wheel keeps turning, the cogs keep turning. But it's the backstage stuff. It's the stuff that she can teach to the next generation. That's invaluable, absolutely invaluable. And we know from her interviews and things like that that's what she loves doing. She loves putting other talent over. She loves teaching. So yeah, I think coach needs to rethink some of that.
Mhm.
Coach was out of the wrestling business for a very long time. Then not that long ago came up, actually probably a year ago at this point, he came back with his own podcast, and I've listened to it a handful of times, and I'd say I agree with him maybe 75% of the time, if that. Some of his
Mhm.
takes are a little bit weird. I think I've only really listened to like 4 or 5 episodes really, but yeah. All right, let's see. What is next on the biggest match of the night?
Yes, of course. How could we have forgotten?
How could we have forgotten? Jasper Troy versus our man, Dante Chen. Dante Chen unfortunately got destroyed in approximately 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I forgot to hit my stopwatch when the bell rang, so give or take about 15 seconds there.
Longer than we all expected it to go.
Yes, longer than we all expected it to go. It was still a squash match, but I like to call this the NXT squash, because it's going to be a squash match, but they still allow the I hate to use the term jobber, but enhancement talent. There we go. There's a word for that.
Squashy.
You hate to see the enhancement, or they let the enhancement talent actually get some offense and get a little bit in, against the one that is coming in to do the squashing. So
It
yeah,
worked for Blue Pants.
It did. It worked for Blue. Yeah, wow, Blue Pants. Oh my God.
I know, right? I had to throw that one in there.
Yeah.
I happened to think of her the other day.
Yeah, geez, that just threw me off. That's totally fine. Totally fine. Horseshoe. There we go. Had to get it out. Ryan, I beat you tonight. Anyway, Jasper Troy. This is a mixed bag for me. Okay, so I really like Jasper Troy. He's this big honking dude. Like he's going to. He looks like he's going to make waves in the company just with his look and everything like that. He says, I forget if it was at Battleground or if it was last week, he said he was going to make a splash, make an impact in the company. And tonight, he made an impact against Dante Chen. Now, we love Dante Chen here on the show, but I didn't realize Dante Chen was still employed. I thought he got let go in that last round of people got let go, to be completely honest with you. So I was very surprised. I was actually about 10 minutes behind because I was writing the report. So I was watching, I've got a DVR, so you pause it while I'm writing some stuff. And Jobin chimes in on Discord, "Oh my God, it's Dante." And I'm like, wait a minute, Dante Chen? What? I didn't realize he's still employed. So
no, I said, pretty sure our fair Dante is about to have a bad time.
Yes. Dante, great wrestler, and I mean, if you want somebody to give a good match, like to kind of lead somebody who's new through a good match, Dante Chen's the man to do it. He's done it many times in NXT so far. Jasper Troy, he's very new, he's very green, so makes sense in terms of giving him Dante Chen. But storyline, you're like, I'm going to come in and make an impact. I'm going to face this guy who hasn't had a match in 6 months or however long it's been.
And has lost almost every match that he had for 6 months before that.
Yeah, and so while I like the ambition and the chutzpah, if you will, of Jasper Troy, I feel like he needed to make a bigger impact, which he did with Obafemi a few weeks ago. Last week, I think it was last week, he attacked Obafemi. Yeah, Obafemi showed up after this match. He showed up on the that platform behind at the announce table, and basically called Jasper Troy out. There's going to be a match. It just hasn't been made official yet, but there's going to be a match. So that's certainly an impact, but I don't know. I just question the impact against Dante Chen. Glad to see Dante Chen actually get a match and get some screen time. But yeah, am I don't know. Am I on, like, do you feel like that's right, or am I kind of like going off a little bit here?
I think I would generally agree. Like, if they really want to have him come in and make an impact, it's not Dante. Like, have him come in, wrestle a match against Oba and give it kind of a screwy finish, but still have him beat Oba, just not clean per se. And like, that would be an impact, or, somebody that's being pushed more heavily, like a Trick or a Javon, or, somebody of that caliber. If he came in and ran a good match against them, fine. But as much as we love Dante's probably going to lose almost every single time, except for Ryan or Steve did mention. He said, didn't Dante beat Ethan Page? He did have that little, I think it was a 3-match series.
Yeah, we're trying to look that up right now because
he won the first
remember it.
2, but it was kind of like a roll up, surprise finish for the first 2 matches, and then like they wrestled an actual 3rd match, and he did not ultimately come out the victor in that series.
He did defeat him on a live show.
Oh, okay.
According to Cage Match back in December.
Yeah, I could have sworn he beat him. Wasn't it last fall, maybe?
Yeah, Dante.
Yeah, it was a while. It was a while back.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Dante Chen. Whoa! Hold on. I didn't realize this. I'm
looking. Sorry, guys. This is the super disorganized version of the.
No. So I'm looking at the Dante Chen's cage match right now. Dante Chen defeats Jasper Troy on August 24th of 2024.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Was that an episode of LFG?
That was an NXT live show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't televised, but I didn't realize Jasper Troy had been around that long. Anyway, I'll look this up later. But I guess his first match. Wow. Okay. Jasper Troy's first match was back in 2023 with NXT.
Oh.
Huh.
Wow.
All right. At a house show. That's crazy. I didn't realize that. Anyway, sorry, we got off on a tangent here.
We do that a lot.
We do.
We try to keep it together for the show, but oh God, come over here. One of our just like personal conversations. Sometimes I don't think most people could follow it.
No, probably not. All right, let's see. We talked about all of our matches. Let's talk about it. Trick Williams. Trick Williams makes his way to the ring for the first time since becoming TNA champion. Said that he's making history, adding to his resume. Former 2-time NXT champion, former North American champion, now adding the TNA championship to his accolades. Ooh, I like that idea, Steve. PWT needs interns to do this behind-the-scenes research. Yeah, we do. We need an intern.
That's kind of what I do when I watch and I'm not on the show.
That's true.
Like if Nate asks a question but doesn't immediately look it up, I'm usually messaging him the answer.
That
So
is
if you
true.
ever, if it ever comes up in an episode that you're listening to, just know that's probably me.
Yes. Yep. And usually I'll give you credit for it. But yeah,
Usually, most people that are regular listeners know who I
so
am at this point.
Jobin is my PWT intern. There we go.
Mhm.
Um, oh God, that just threw me off. What was I talking about? Oh, right. Trick Williams, Trick NA. As he said, he's going to rename TNA to Trick NA. He named off a bunch of former champions like Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, Drew McIntyre. Drew Galloway was the one to hold the title. We called him McIntyre. And he said he was going to rename TNA to Trick NA. Mike Santana's music hit. He makes his way to the ring. Mike Santana just had a match a little bit ago, Tavion Heights. Santana basically said, that he's not going to let somebody like Trick Williams represent TNA. That you're not my champion, and the last thing I'm going to do is sit back and let you represent TNA. And there was some back and forth. Trick said that he's never been a world champion. That Santana had never been a world champion, so he can't call any shots right now. The two of them kind of just went back and forth on the mic. We ended up seeing Santino Marella appear on the screen, not to be confused with Santana. We got Santino Marella appearing on the screen. He is the innovator of the Cobra, which I want to see. I want to see sometime on NXT pretty soon. The Cobra, but he's also obviously the authority figure in TNA. So he ended up making the match official after he said he talked with Ava. They made the match official for next week. The TNA Championship will be defended once again on WWE TV. Be Williams versus Santana. I'm definitely intrigued by this. Oh my God, you know what? I didn't even realize that. Ryan said Santino had WWE music. I'm gonna have to go back and I don't even think it dawned on me or like registered in my brain that it was Santino's old music. If that was the case, so yeah, all right. I'm definitely intrigued by this. I don't know a lot about Mike Santana. I've seen some of his stuff before, but this is the first time I actually watched a match of his bell to bell. I've seen stuff on Reddit and YouTube and whatnot. So certainly impressed by him, but I was not impressed by the crowd reaction when he was the one that kind of said, "I'm going to stop you." I mean, there was a bit of a pop, but it wasn't like Joe Hendry came out and said he wanted a rematch or something, which I feel like it would have been, huge crowd pop. I'm intrigued by it. I'm assuming this is just somebody to feed to Trick Williams. I don't think Trick's going to lose the TNA Championship just yet. There's a history-making title reign. Now, I don't think he's going to hold another promotion's title for 6 months, but I think he's going to have at least a few title defenses, probably drop the belt. I don't know TNA well enough to even say who he might drop the belt to, but
Same. I mean, the only person that I can really think of might be Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry wants a rematch.
Say his name and he appears. I believe.
Good. You said his name. You gave me my shot tonight because
I did because we had talked about this ahead of time, and we were upset that Joe Hendry didn't make an appearance.
Hey, you don't need to tell him we planned that.
Well, I mean, we didn't plan it per se. We talked about how it was weird that Joe Hendry didn't show up.
That's true. But yeah. So I think this might be a good way to kind of feed him a TNA wrestler and kind of keep this title reign going semi long term. Because like I said, this is unprecedented. So I think they should roll with this for a few months at least.
Give it. I don't know. I would say 2 PLE cycles, but we're getting a PLE every 2 weeks at this point for a while. So
yeah, right.
Because we're having Money in the Bank's coming up, Worlds Collide. They keep doing Saturday night main events. I'm sure there's another NXT PLE coming up that I can't remember the name of. Probably in about a month or so.
Oh yeah, no, there's going to be
There's a lot going on. It's going to be a good summer for wrestling, everybody.
Good fella coming into the chat saying Frankie Kazarian's been doing a lot of social media stuff or social stuff. I'm assuming he meant social media stuff. I'm sure Trick will have a TV match with him. I want to see that. Frankie Kazarian is a hell of a talent. Ryan saying that he should hold it till Slam. He being Trick should hold it till Slammiversary. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, when is that? I'm not as familiar.
I'm not sure actually exactly when it is.
With the TNA stuff.
Slammiversary, I think, is their SummerSlam. Their summer event, I think.
July 20th.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be a solid amount of time, I think.
Yeah, I think that's good.
For him to lose it at.
Yeah. July 20th. All right, cool. Yeah, so yeah, I'm down with that. I think it's good. So yeah, anything on that segment with Santana?
No, not really. I think it's did a fine job setting up the match. I think that's all it really needed to do.
All right, we had a sit down between Tony D'Angelo and Luca Crucifino backstage. D'Angelo said that he thought Stax had clipped him in the desert, and then he shows up at Battleground and then just stands there and stares at D'Angelo, doesn't do anything, and allowed Stax to get the win. Luca tried to explain, and Tony just was like, I don't know who to trust anymore, and what you're giving me kind of sounds like some phony baloney. Bullshnikey. I don't know. I'm trying to be a mobster, and it's not happening. And so Luca's trying to like explain things to him. D'Angelo's like, I don't know if I can trust you right now, and that was kind of it. It wasn't a whole long segment. I'm intrigued by this, I guess, just because the D'Angelo saga has been going on for so long now. Did Luca betray the Don? Does Luca wind up, kind of coming through in a moment of need? Maybe when Stax has the Don down and out again, Luca comes out and makes the save. I don't know. Ryan Solario's like, I do like how Tony just casually brings up death in the conversation, which kind of sounds like our Tony, like my roommate. Just casually bringing up death in the conversation.
Like you do.
Yeah, I like I said, I like this. I think it I'm not sure exactly where this is going to wind up leading. I want this to be over, this feud between Stax and D'Angelo, so they can both move on to other things. But then I'm like, what do they move on to? D'Angelo without a family is just somebody cosplaying as a mob boss, and Stax, it would basically be in the same boat. So I don't know. I'm a little worried about both of them. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm also kind of wanting this to be done, but like I'm also still sort of intrigued at the same time. Like I think they're doing a good enough job with it to keep me interested enough where I just totally don't care. But yeah, what do they move on to?
Yeah,
you're gonna have to do some work. Does Tony lose all of his mob connections somehow, and then he's just some guy? But then what's the character from there? Maybe they're trying to like prep him to move him up to a main roster slot, or I don't really know. But like they're going to need to do some heavy character work to get years, I believe, at this point of.
Oh yeah, years.
The mob character. So
yeah,
I really don't know what they're trying to do ultimately with this.
I believe last week, and I forget, somebody in the chat, I want to say it was Ryan, but I don't remember exactly, pointed out it's been like 5 years now, of almost 5 years of Tony D'Angelo.
I will trust.
Yeah, and it has been. It's been about that long since NXT 2.0 was a thing, which blows my mind. It's been that long.
Okay. Fair.
But yeah, Harmon Smith coming in. I feel like disbanding the group would be good for them to branch out and grow, but their roles seem like dead ends. And yeah, that's kind of
exactly.
it.
Like I think
You
they
know?
do all need some singles time and all of that, but like we need more of a character first for people to actually really care about them being on their own. Like yeah, we as like the more hardcore wrestling fans understand what they're doing, but your average everyday casual fan is not gonna care about that.
Oh no, especially if they bring them up to the main roster,
Mhm.
whether it's Stacks and Tony D or just one, one or the other.
Yeah, we need something first.
Yeah, it's yeah, I am. I'm worried about it. And we say it every week, but yeah, I obviously I want to see people succeed and things like that, but I just feel like this gimmick, especially if they're breaking the group up, I don't know where it's going to lead for either one of them. I've got faith in the system right now. The WWE and NXT tend to deliver more often than not nowadays. So I think it's really going to be up to Stax and D'Angelo to kind of take whatever character they wind up with after this whole feud and kind of make the best of it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We had Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura backstage. Briggs very excited to have his partner back from Japan. Inamura said that he has more things to accomplish here in NXT. Briggs asked if it was the NXT tag titles, and Inamura said yes, and more, kind of leaving that a bit ominous. We had a vignette hyping up the team of Wesley, Tyson DuPont, and Tyreek Igwe. They're basically saying they're not.
High Rise, right?
Is that what they did? They give him a name?
Yeah, wasn't that last week or 2 weeks ago? They came out. And
That's right. High
yeah,
Rise.
and it was
yes.
like High Rise with a Y.
That's
and a
right.
Z.
Yes, that's right. Because I
Yeah.
pointed that out to Kelly that it was High
Right.
Rise with a Y. That's right. I do
Yeah, it
remember
was. I don't love the name, but anyway, sorry. Continue. Or
that.
the Rise.
The Rise, as Ryan says in the
Yes,
chat.
thank you, Ryan.
But yeah, Inamura, or actually, sorry, not Inamura. I got past that. That the Rise says that they're not going to chase greatness anymore. They're going to build it brick by brick and shatter that glass ceiling. We saw Chase U backstage, and Andre was telling his two lackeys, whose names I can't remember, Uriah Connors and Cale Dixon. Wow, I remembered it now. Couldn't remember when I was writing the report though. He basically told them that they need to keep their mouth shut. That's why they got a match with OTM last week and got destroyed. And they were like, okay, and immediately turned around and Ava's standing right there, and they run their mouth and get a match next week with Dark State. So there we go. Andre Chase was not too happy with them.
Yeah.
And the last thing that I don't think we talked about, Zarya and Sol Ruka walked up to Tatum Paxley to provide her a little bit of comfort. We could see the culling in the background, potentially looking to maybe pick up the scraps of Paxley's mental breakdown, which we might see in coming weeks, as obviously they've been known to take these broken characters and kind of bring them into their definitely not a cult, and make them feel more better. That's not
think,
proper grammar, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think that would be a shame for Tatum, but no, that could just be me being a big fan of hers. I feel like she could get lost in the shuffle because I couldn't tell you who's in the culling off the top of my head.
Well, I don't know.
Sean Spears, obviously, and
it's Sean Spears, Brooks Jensen, Nico Vance, and Izzy Dame.
Yeah, I couldn't remember those other two.
But I agree. I think it would be, she kind of would get lost in the shuffle a little bit. I'd rather see her out on her own, doing her own things. If she does end up wind up aligning herself with somebody, I want it to almost be like her relationship with Lyra Valkyria or Gigi Dolan or Shotzi Blackheart. She didn't have the Blackheart. She was just Shotzi, I think. Yeah.
She's just Shotzi.
They brought it back for a little bit. Brought it back for a little bit, but Ryan Solario. The way to remember Cale Dixon is no one likes Cale, according to Corey Graves.
Okay.
I like that.
That's a good one.
So yeah, and one thing that that Jobin actually pointed out to me earlier during the Zarya, Solruka, and Tatum Paxley segment, Solruka walked out on TV with the Speed Championship. She had her North American Championship, but she also had the Speed Championship. They didn't in her like they brought up a nameplate as they do with backstage segments, and in the nameplate they said North American champion Solruka, but they didn't mention Speed champion. But she had both titles with her.
She kind of had her like forearm hand over the main plate on the belt when she turned. But like if you knew it was the Speed, like if you know what that looks like, it's very obvious she was carrying it.
Yeah,
it just seemed very strange to me because they have, to my knowledge, never shown it on TV up to this point.
Yeah, and it's the same. I don't think I don't think they have, because it's like every time the Speed champion, whether it's a male or female Speed champion, they come to the ring, they don't, and it's not a WWE Speed show. They don't wear the title. They barely even
champion for a while, and she had several matches recently.
Yeah,
didn't have.
They barely even mention on commentary that this person is a Speed champion. They might mention it, but obviously, there's that contract with I can't even call it X. It's a contract with Twitter, where they can only show it on Twitter. So interesting. I don't know what that means, but maybe Solruka just brought it out because she's like, you know what? I'm a dual champion. You're going to see both of my titles. And you know what? I don't blame you, because I'd probably feel the same way.
Either that, or she was doing some photo stuff backstage with both titles and just happened to walk over with them both. And
yeah,
I mean, who knows? I'm sure we'll never get an answer to that.
Yeah. Ryan in the chat coming in. What's X? I don't know. I got rid of mine so long ago at this point. I can't. I don't know.
I think I still technically have one, but I don't use it.
If I had a Tesla, I'd sell that too, but I'm not going into that right now. Not that I sold my X. Maybe I could have. I wonder how much money I could have got for it. Like $1, maybe. Nobody wants to buy my X. So anyway. Well, with that stupid statement, I think that brings us to the end of our show. Oh, hey, no, you're right. Because I even said that earlier. We were going to check the mailbag.
We had a discussion about this halfway through the show.
Hey, you know what my memory is like.
I know.
All right, the doctor is in. Salutations, Nate and Job, and I hope this email finds you well. If the action in the ring was hot tonight, then let me tell you about the tension surrounding my 6-year-old daughter's softball game, in which we made 3 outs at home to preserve a 15-14 win. Holy crap.
Wow.
That's a high-scoring
really
baseball game. All right. Or softball game. That's hell yeah, I'm glad. Good job. Good job.
That sounds exciting.
Kevin's daughter. Yes. That is exciting. Kevin says, that said, I have 2 questions. One, I'm sure you poured a good deal of energy into one, or maybe not. First, what do you think the end game of this is of this Trick TNA title win? Does he lose it back to Joe Hendry? I still believe. Or do we build something deeper? Second, what did you all think of Jasper Troy? I loved his evolution in LFG, and I hope you see what makes him special. Thanks as always. Go VIP and listen to NXT 8 Years Back. Office hours are now over. The Professor, Kevin Pete Catani, PhD. So actually, we did. I think we talked about both of them.
Yeah, I think we covered both of those points. Pretty heavily earlier on. So I don't know that there's a whole lot left else to talk about there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I said, with the trick stuff, yeah, I'm hoping. I like the idea that it was brought up in the chat. Your Slammiversary. I think that kind of makes sense. It's almost like when Dolph Ziggler held the NXT title. You knew he wasn't going to hold it for long, but he held it longer than we expected. I think it was like 3 months or something like that. Might have been give or take. I have to look up exactly, but it wasn't super long. But it was long enough to get eyeballs on the product and kind of build some things up so him and Braun Breaker could have a feud, and they could bring the title to Raw and bring the feud to Raw and things like that. So yeah, I think that's kind of where that's going. With Trick, I think I like that idea for Slammiversary time frame. I can't see him holding another promotions title for that much longer.
No,
and then
2-3 months tops.
Yeah. And then Jasper Troy, you know, like I said, I think we talked quite a bit about that. So I think you would have gotten your answer earlier in the show, Kevin, because I know you're going to be listening to this on a delay. So, oh, Corbin, my dog just started
Oh, yes, he's
dreaming.
screaming.
Yes.
You can hear it
Yep.
from here.
Yep. It's kind of funny when he does that. All right. Ryan says, by the way, Horseshoe, you can't take my spot, Nate. You're right. I can't. That is the designated Ryan Solario spot there. There we go. All right. So I think now that we have read his email, Kevin's email, that brings us to the end of our show. Oh, wait a minute. CJ had a very last Bailey question. Do we expect Bailey to get a monster pop when she returns? I think so.
I think she'll get a solid pop. Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
usually
I think
does.
so.
Like, you know, people like Bailey.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think people, you know, a lot of people like Bailey. So I agree. I agree. All right. I'm Nate Lindberg. Check the things I do out at natelindberg.com. Jobin, thank you very much for joining me tonight, filling in for Kelly once again.
Always. I'm Jobin, and that's Nate, and you can check the things out he does at natelindberg.com.
Yes, thank you. All right.
It's the tradition at this point.
Absolutely. It's that's been his closing. So there we go. All right. We'll catch you next week. Take care.